Hello, this is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor. I'm glad that you've joined me. It is a Tuesday morning, and it is a chilly morning because finally the cold has gotten to South Carolina. That wind, or not the wind, but the cold sheet of cold air came down from Canada, and it's finally hitting us. And we're supposed to get some rain today too, which is okay. We need the rain. We haven't had rain for several days now. Listen, I've been doing some travel throughout my life, but recently, in the last week, a week ago, I went to Houston, Texas. And some things. Oh, before I get to that, I forgot. And I'm going to tell you this every single day until the end of November. Okay? Now is the time for you to sit down with your tax advisor and go over what has happened over 2023 in your life and any changes that may change the filing of your tax return. There might be changes that you got married, so your name is changing. There might be a situation where the parental rights of the tax deduction for that child might have changed. So talk about that. There might be a new parenting agreement in place. Make sure that you provide a copy of that parenting agreement as it pertains to the tax issues to your tax practitioner. Your job may have changed. You might have a small business you're running, or it might be a hobby. Have your tax practitioner tell you what it is. You may also be getting 1099. So you're going to have some self-employment income. How can you minimize that between now and the end of 2023? Now, you can't do it in 2024. Forget it. You have to make those changes or take control of the applicable tax code that can help you as a self-employed individual. Make sure that your tax practitioner goes down the lines, what you consider what is income, what is considered what is expenses, legitimate expenses. Just don't look up in the air and make up some numbers and give it to your tax accountant. Literally sit down, get your bank statements out, and start coding it as what is legitimate expenses for the business. Listen, I know the trick that you guys, because you guys come to me and you guys look up in the air when I say, okay, what did you spend in internet fees? And the eyes go up because evidently the numbers are up in the sky. So point your eyes down, look directly at your tax practitioner and say, here's the document to show what I paid in internet expenses. Listen, there are a lot of expenses that you can write off legitimately and through the tax code for your business. Remember, even if you're an Uber driver, you are operating as a small business. If you're a Lyft driver, you're operating as a small business. So you have car expenses, you've got car insurance, you've got health insurance. You have a lot of different things that you can take as deductions. So sit down with your tax practitioner, identify the changes in your life. If you've adopted a child, that changes your taxes altogether. If you have started a business, that changes your taxes altogether. If you have an LLC, the LLC slides on through to your personal income tax return, unless you have it as a corporation. But listen, you have all of those questions that should be in your mind. What should I ask my tax practitioner? And then you should go into his office, make an appointment now, and go into his office, and let's see what you can do to change your tax liability or even increase maybe some tax refunds. But if you're self-employed, you're going to be looking at taxes due normally. So that is, I'm gonna pound you on that every single day of my podcast until the end of November. Once it turns December, you're on your own. But let me tell you, as a tax practitioner myself and as an accountant, I love it when my clients call me and say, hey, what if I do this, or what happens now, or what if I put some money into a 401k plan, or should I put some money into an IRA plan? How much should I put in? Well, there's a whole bunch of tax codes that tell you what you are allowed to put in. So I stress this again. Call your tax practitioner today and make an appointment. Either it's phone call or you're going directly into his office. If he's going to charge you money, let me tell you, it's worth the money because now you know where you stand at the end of 2023. That's a good point, okay? 2023 is just about ready to end. You have really November and December to sit down with them. After November, I'm not going to remind you anymore, so you're on your own. And by the way, this is also a good time that you sit down with yourself and with your significant other and start preparing your budget for 2024. You got some work to do, and it's a responsibility to be good stewards of your money. Okay, back to my problem. I have a problem. Okay, so I went to Houston this over the past weekend, a weekend ago, and so I rented a car. Now I always rent my cars from Alamo because they just give me good service. I have a corporate account with them, and so I always get my cars from them. But I was a little perturbed this time, only because I arrived 2 hours ahead of what I scheduled the car for. I was supposed to get it at 11 a.m. I came in 2 hours earlier. So in fact, when I'm leaving Houston, I was going to, instead of dropping it off at 10 a.m., I was dropping it off at 5 a.m. So I was making up time as we went along so that we were just about the same amount of time. But when I got to the front desk, the lady says, "Oh, we're going to have to charge you $280 some," when I had only charged what I had booked it for was $230. So I said, "Well, is there any way that you can adjust it because my times are adjusting and we're about the same amount of time?" She says, "No." She says, "No, we can't do that at the moment. You either pay the $280 some or you wait for 2 hours and get the original fee that I was going to be charged at 11 a.m. So I sat down and I began to pout because that's what we men do. We pout, okay? So I began to pout and thinking, I don't think this is fair. And I pouted for 2 hours. I had a good pouting session for 2 hours. At the end of the 2 hours, I went up to the desk and I was 15 minutes early. I said, "Can you go ahead and book me 15 minutes earlier?" She says, "Well, let me see what I can do in the computer." So she said, "Oh, yeah." So she tap, and pretty soon I had my car and I was off of my way for the exact same amount that I had booked it for. Now, I think probably they could have made an adjustment for me at the earlier hour, but they didn't want to do it because immediately when I left the front desk, they zoomed back to the back and I never saw them again until the 11 o'clock hour. So that kind of perturbed me. Customer service. Then I went to a Best Western hotel. Now, I've never stayed at Best Western before, so this is all new to me. Now, it was a nice room. Everything was taken care of. But when I was booking in, I paid for the full price of the room, which was $230 for 3 nights. Then they charged me $86 for incidentals. Now, I looked up what incidentals are for hotels, okay? So let's go over that for just 1 second. Hotel incidentals, sometimes referred to as simply incidentals, refer to expenses that guests might incur during their stay that aren't covered by standard room charges. Incidentals might be laundry services, the beverages and food pre-stocked in room minibars, or even high-speed internet. Well, okay, let's go over that. Internet was free. I didn't have to pay for that. That came with the room. The breakfast at the hotel was free. I didn't have to pay for that. Came with the room cost. The refrigerator in the room was just a plain old refrigerator, had nothing cool inside it. It was completely empty. So there wasn't any cool stuff like Coke or Pepsi or chocolate or any of those cool stuff that you get in really nice hotels, right? No, there was nothing. And I wasn't going to get my laundry done because I was going to take it home with me and do it. I mean, so I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, I'm being charged for these incidentals, but what are the incidentals? There was zero incidentals that were going to be applied to me. Nothing in the word incidental applied to me staying at this Best Western hotel. So I called them. I said, listen, why was I charged incidentals? You don't have any incidentals to give me. I wish you did, but you didn't. There was no Pepsi or Coke in the room. Nothing. No bottled water. Nothing. So she said, well, listen, you'll get a refund back in about 3 to 4 days. Well, it's now Tuesday, and I stayed there over a week ago, and I still haven't gotten that refund. So customer service, and listen, incidentals, come on. What are they? At the Best Western Hotel, what are the incidentals? Because if I wanted a Coke, I had to go down to the first floor and get a Coke out of the machine for $1 or whatever it was. I never did, but there it was. Snacks, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, it was all there. Okay, so that's my other complaint. Now, this happened to me several years ago also, when I was in Miami. And at the Miami hotel that I had booked, I'm turning off my iPad because it keeps wanting to talk to me. I stayed at a hotel. It was on the ocean, very nice, kind of old, but nice. It was okay. And I spent 2 nights there. And when I went to check out, they handed me a bill. Now, I had already prepaid for this hotel, so it was already paid for. So I was turning in my key, which maybe I shouldn't have done. But they handed me a bill, and it was for $60. I said, what is this for? And so they pointed at this little tiny sign, and it said $30 a day for cleaning your room. A little tiny sign. It wasn't in any of the brochures. It wasn't anything there, but it was just a little tiny sign behind the manager or the concierge or whatever you want to call that guy at the front desk. $30 a day for cleaning your room. And I'm thinking, when did they start charging to clean room? I got mad. Everybody in line got mad. Everybody all of a sudden became an attorney in line. It's amazing how all of a sudden when people get mad, they become attorneys. And they yell, you don't know who you're messing with because I'm an attorney. I don't think they're an attorney. I just can't see them as an attorney. But everybody becomes an attorney. So everybody becomes somebody powerful when they get ripped off on a bill. That's a funny. I didn't. No, I just became president of the United States, but they didn't believe me. Customer service. I tell you, we've got a strange thing happening in the economy at the moment, and people are running short of money at their businesses. So they're coming up with all of these different fees. I went to a restaurant one time in San Francisco, sat down, had a meal, and in my bill it said, to help support the employees' healthcare plan, because that's when Obamacare was changing, right? I wouldn't pay it. I crossed it out and put in the dollar amount I wanted to pay. Why am I paying for the healthcare of employees that are not my employees? So you have all of these different fees, and I've seen it also, like when you go to pay for something, now they have a gratuity line in there already set up. And I don't like that. I would prefer, what was my service like? And I want to pay accordingly. And I always pay, if I get really good service, I always pay very well. If I get very bad service, then they get the lower end of that scale. But you're seeing this happen more and more because people are short on cash. All Americans are short on cash. So businesses are trying to find different ways to drive in a little bit extra cash especially restaurants at the moment. They have all types of different fees. Review your invoices, review your receipts when you go to pay your restaurant fees, because there are some stuff in there that you should really be looking for. And you don't have to pay it. If you don't want to pay that, you don't have to pay it. When they're putting in gratuities at the highest amount, when you didn't want that, I went to a restaurant this past in Houston also, where they added in the gratuity, and I let it go because I did get good service. Not great food. It wasn't great food, but we did have good service. Maybe just a little bit too much service, because the waiter, when he came and he was reading the specials of the restaurant, I think that thing went on like for 30 minutes, and it kept going on and on and on. Finally, I just pointed at the menu and I said, I want this. And I got fish. The other issue is that their menu, and I had never seen this before in a restaurant, when you opened the menu, it lit up, and it was like a glaring beam of light shining in your eye, and you had to hold about and say, my gosh, I can't even see, because it blinded you. It was so bright. I guess today, as I sit here, I really sound as though that I am complaining. But it's really to show a point is that customer service is very important. Finding hidden fees in your receipts and bills that when you go out to eat or stay at a hotel is important for you to review those charges and dispute them if you want to, because you have the right to dispute them. But the most important thing is that customer service has got to be better in corporations, because I'm seeing it go downward and not upward. It's very difficult when you call in to any place, even to your bank, to get through and talk to a human being. You are around, call dial 1, dial 2. If you want this, dial 5. If you want to repeat this, dial 1. I mean, you go round and round, right? Don't you get frustrated? I get pissed off. So what's the point? I think the point is we need to do better with customer service. And a lot of us have got to be more patient, because we're going to have to do some mighty fine arguments to justify lowering our bills, saving us money as the consumer. That's my point for the day. My other point was, call your tax accountant and sit down and go over the tax issues of any changes that affected your life for 2023. But you have to do it in 2023. All right, I'm done. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.